Greetings and salutations, test takers. This is Dean Tenney, aka Social Media Series 7 Guru, with our always very special guest, the managing member and the test geek himself of Test Geek Exam Prep LLC, Brian Lee. We love to share any content we can help you with on any FINRA NASAA exam every Tuesday, 5 p.m. Pacific time. We broadcast to Facebook, LinkedIn, I guess X now instead of Twitter, and YouTube is our primary platform. If you miss a Tuesday, it's always available as a podcast, either on the YouTube channel or on Spotify. So tell us what exam you're taking and where you're joining us from. We'll knock out some housekeeping, and then we'll head to the chat comments and see what we can help you with. Feel free amongst yourself to chit chat or whatever. If you are going to put a question in the chat, just help me pick it out by putting it SIE or S7 or 65 with a capital Q in the question. That makes it easier for Brian and I to pull that out of the chat versus people just, claiming they're testing victories, which we always love sharing, what's going on with each other. So there's a certain amount of fun and fellowship, but that helps us stay focused on content that people need help on. All right. So what's going on the channel? Tell us what series exam you're taking, where you're joining us from. We are doing a podcast episodes right now. Let me get rid of this. Yeah, let's get rid of that. And I'm on episode 7 on that SIE podcast. And the next episode record live is going to be 9 a.m. Friday. There's a link on the channel. And what we do is after we're done with the recording, the live recording, then I answer any questions you have, and then I just edit that out. So feel free to join us. I'm so excited to have roped my friend Brian into another collaboration. We have done, this will be our third collaboration, and these collaborations have contributed a lot of test taking victories and people telling me they were very helpful. So that first was a Series 65 podcast series where Brian and I did the entire 65 covered it as a podcast. The second was I roped in Brian to do an evening class for us on definition of registrations and persons. And this is going to be our third one now, where I roped Brian into doing another collaboration on the Series 66 exam. We've already posted the first episode on the introduction to the series and business information. And I think, what are we doing this second episode next week, Brian, I think?
Next Monday, yeah.
Yeah, we haven't quite figured out how we're going to break it up. We're following the test specifications, but that investment vehicle thing is quite large. So we might chop it up a little bit just to make it a little more manageable if you're at the gym or in your car, you get a 20-minute bit rather than, an hour and a half or something. The best free supplement to your paid study materials is my YouTube channel. But if you're looking for a paid supplement, there's nothing better than a Kaplan QBank and the Test Geek himself, his teachable video series. The discount code for any Kaplan product, service, or class is Guru15. And Brian has been kind enough to give our viewers a 20% discount code on his content, and that is Guru20. So if you're thinking about a paid supplement, I recommend a Kaplan QBank, which comes in on the 7, for example, at $60. With the discount, I think it's $58.50, something like that. 3,600 questions plus. And then Brian's teachable with our discount codes comes in about $100. So you're looking at 100 and call it $60 for, I think, the best paid supplement that you can get. Particularly Brian's practice final. Kaplan's QBank has simulated exams, but nothing better than Brian's series finals. Using my channel to be sufficient or be efficient, I should say, it's a buffet. Take what you like, leave what you don't. I don't have any expectation you're going to watch 700 hours of my videos. But I do have them in suggested watch order in terms of playlists. So you can find the SIE, for example. There's 3 playlists. And the videos are in suggested watch order. I can do all the time. What orders I watch in the order, but you can do it any way you want. Now, if you're looking for a particular topic, use the channel search bar. That's a little more efficient. Put in accrued interest or margin in the channel search bar, and then everything we have available will come up for you. We end all these things. We're almost done with the housekeeping with a free 30-minute coaching call. I don't know, Nicole, if you're on the call, but I still haven't made good on your coaching call because I just got back into town here very recently. But we'll certainly take care of that. I just sent you an email, Nicole, to get that done. You need to claim that within 30 minutes of the close of our evening. I don't want to have a contingent floating liability. I had a guy, Brian, 8 months later call me and said he won the coaching call, which was true. But I said, I make it very clear you need to claim that, not 6 months later. All right, well, let's see what we got going on. Let me get rid of that, and let's see what we got going on. Series 66 from Arkansas. Trevor, woohoo! One of my favorite brokerage firms ever is no longer with us, but it was in Bentonville, Arkansas. And the general securities principal started out at Smith Barney as a retail stockbroker and then decided to have her own firm. Why not? And she named it Llama Securities. And the Series 24 was Alice Walton. Woo! Why not? Right?
Yeah.
Walton, you want to start your own broker dealer? Why not? Would Trevor imagine a lot of the net capital of Llama Securities came from a subordinated loan in the form of Walmart shares to Llama Securities. So welcome. Series 7. Dominique taking Series 7. I always joke, Dominique Series 7, master of disaster. Jack of all trades, master of none. General securities principal in the house. Hopefully tomorrow, Nick, you'll be a general securities principal, and I'll get to say kudos to you. Make sure you get a good night's rest. The judgment questions will be challenging, but I think you got it. And circle back with your testing victory. I don't know if you're part of our Reddit. We have a Reddit community I'm so proud of called R Series 24. I don't know if you're a participant in that, Nick, but if you are, it's always good for morale to post victory. So our sister Reddit communities for the 7 are just like the 7 are R Series 7. That's for the SIE in Series 7. R Series 6, R Series 66. That's the 63, 65, 66, and the 24 R Series 24 for 8, 9s, and 10s, and 24. So share your testing victory. 65 from Tennessee. Woohoo! Missed passing the 66 in Washington by 2 questions on Thursday. Ugh. Got more questions from section 1 and less from section 2 than were described in the outline. That threw me off a bit. Well, I'm not sure, Aaron, how you would know whether you got 1 or 2 questions in terms of reconciling that with the test specifications. But they did recently change the test specifications. I have a video up on that that you can check out. And Brian, just let me get Brian his whiteboard there.
Yeah, it's going from 5 to 8 and from 20 to 17.
Yeah, and we just, Aaron, in that first episode, went over those 8 questions from business information. So I will link at 7:50, Aaron, to my video episode, my podcast on You Failed. The title is You Failed, Is It Over? Spoiler alert, the answer is no.
From Washington.
Yeah, from Washington. That's well, Brian is a jet setter. He's got 2 places he hangs out. He hangs out in the Northwest, and he also hangs out here in Las Vegas. So
house in West Seattle and one in Las Vegas. Yeah.
Is it over? Okay, so I'm gonna link that at 7:58 for you, Aaron. Yeah, which hockey team you like better, the Knights or the Kraken?
Ooh, that's not a conversation you want to bring up.
Really?
Yeah, it's touchy.
You're not monogamous?
Friends.
You're not monogamous.
We have season tickets to the Kraken, but my wife loves to go to the Golden.
Well, there you go. So.
3 of them last year, and probably 15 Kraken games.
Well, yeah, but you should get
bring us back. Bring us back.
more hockey.
No, there you go.
Always better. More hockey. Man, Dominique, scoring 50. So let me just speak truth. That means knowledge deficit. That means you don't have enough base to be answering questions. So what you should be focused on is not doing more. Thursday's bad. It's possible, but it's going to be a rough. I don't know. What exam, Dominique? Did you tell us? I think you said 7. Let me just go back up here and see that.
Yeah, it was Series 7. Yep.
Series 7.
Yep.
I don't know. I don't know what your situation is. I very rarely say this, but I think I would reschedule. What do you think, Brian? 50 on the
I agree 100%. Yep.
Yeah, you got to be in striking distance. If you had a 60 plus, I would be encouraging you to go take a shot. But if you're not at risk, so let me rephrase this, Dominique. If you're not at risk, and you could just go down there, and this is your first, at bat, and nobody's going to give you a hard time about missing the mark, and you have, maybe you're working and you're a part-time studier, then if there's no risk to it, go do it. but I think you'd be better shape if you had some more base knowledge. So this is what, Tuesday? I don't even know, Dominique, what to tell you to do between, because you got one more day, right? You got Wednesday. So I think this is a very limited circumstance in which I would say reschedule. And you agree, Brian, with that?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Could you discuss further how it is that when a stock split happens, the lender instead of the borrower gets the extra shares? Can't get my mind around it. Well, I'm not sure, Nick, why that would be important for the 24 in terms of that. What do you think, Brian? On this one?
This is for someone who is shorting stock.
Yeah. Remember,
Right?
you're borrowing the stock. The borrower gets the extra shares because, as far as the issuer is concerned, that's still the shareholder as of record, right?
In my video, I kind of
there's no effective change there, Nick. I'm not sure in the context of how that would show up on the 24. The only thing I think that would show up as it relates to something like that is going to be not a stock split, a stock dividend of over, I think it's 20%, Brian. That would be a different record date than would the stock split. So I'm not sure, Nick, the context of that. But remember, the lender always can demand the stock back, and you're always going to get mark to market, and that's one of the risks you take. So
may I just add one little thing to this?
Sure.
The lender of the stock typically is a customer who owns the shares in a margin account, right?
Yeah, and sign the loan consent form. That part's very testable. The loan consent form, very testable.
And borrow those shares.
Yeah.
And there's a stock dividend declared. It was the original owner / lender who gets those extra shares, not short seller. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't understand why what the test implication would be on that 24, Nick. I've never on a debrief had anybody tell me anything about the stock split and a lender and how that works out. What is very testable is you can't use customer securities for anything other than customers' benefit, and to do so, you got to have their consent. So that would be huge. All right, thanks, Nicole. All right, we'll get it done. The Western Slope. Oh yeah, you're the one who lives in Brian's former stomping grounds, right? The Western Slope. Where was that? Where you went to college, Brian? What was that town?
Grand Junction.
There you go. 66 on 12-1. Not feeling confident. Well, Rachel, I wish I had a confidence pill I could give you, the blue pill that gives you the confidence, because confidence is huge. And so you got to, fake it till you make it. You got to do whatever you can do to make yourself feel more confident. And one of those things would be improving your practice test scores. You didn't mention what your practice scores are. That would be something that would improve your confidence if you can get a good score, particularly on like a Brian for practice final, where that's a mark that you can count on. But I think with 2 weeks, I think you have plenty of time to get that under control. So, I always joke, Rachel, the difference between tragedy and comedy is the timing. If there were just Act 6, Scene 1, everybody on the stage would still be alive. Right? But in a tragedy, Act 5, Scene 5, everybody runs out of time, and so your study effort will start collapsing. So good news, you still have, as we say in options, some time value. It's going to start eroding pretty quickly on you, but 2 weeks, not a problem. Not a problem. I think 2 weeks, 7-10 days is when Brian and I both agree is when you should start getting practice tests and getting marks. You're not taking practice tests to learn the information. You're taking a practice test to do an intellectual inventory to see where you're at, so that we can find out whether you need remediation or not. So, Rachel and Nicole, right? I know Rachel has a 30-minute coaching call. Maybe she wants to do some practice questions on that. Some people like to do that. And that gives me kind of sometimes a good feel for where you're at on the material. But you want to get those intellectual inventory marks to kind of say, okay, where is it? Now, if you're using Kaplan has that performance tracker, which is wonderful for this, pointing you in the right direction where you might need some more help. Brian has put it up there, and I'll put him back there on his board. He did a class for us. It's a wonderful class. I will link to it at 1429, definitions of registrations and persons. So, Brian, you have 2 videos that I think, people find life-changing, in our business.
Well, that's nice to know.
Brian and I provide you with life. Only 2, no.
I
get enough feedback, Brian, where I hear more than one.
Yeah.
One is, Nick, if you're taking the 24, Brian has a wonderful video, and you have time to watch it tonight, and I would recommend it on sellouts, buy-ins and sellouts. And I can't tell you how much feedback I get from Series 24s about how helpful that video has been. Now, the other video I'm going to link to at 1439 for Nicole and for Rachel is Brian's class he did for us. You know, usually we charge a nominal fee for classes on the channel, and then they're available as a free replay. So this is a free replay of Brian's evening class he did, definitions of registrations and persons. And I will link to that at 1439. And again, it's another video, Brian, where I just constantly get people telling me, oh man, that was, you know, Brian has a thing he likes to say, I'm paraphrasing, he likes to turn the potatoes into
turning mashed potatoes into premium vodka.
Yeah. So, and I think those particular two videos really hit that mark. They basically tell me, oh man, I didn't realize it was that simple. You know? So,
for Series 66, it's got to be one of the first places you start.
yeah.
Getting your IAs and IARs all straightened out.
I do have that, Brian, in front of the playlist. So if you can either put it, you know, I'll link it, but you can just go to the any playlist, 63, 65, 66. As I said, I have those videos in suggested watch order, and Brian's videos right there at the front of that watch order. So check it out. Check it out. Trevor, 87. My God.
Holy cow.
You know, if you got an 87 on a benchmark for Knopman marks, you should be good. So I can't imagine. Well, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. Psyche is important, but you have no reason, Trevor, to have anything other than the expectation you're going to get the P, as Brian says. You're going to make your mark, right? So scared is good, but don't make it overpower you, right? There's a certain amount of fear. You know, I joke the two most powerful motivators, Trevor, are fear and greed. But you can't make the fear as a motivating factor. You get in the way of getting it done, right? Trevor, when I took the test, I used greed. I had, you know, a guy in the office trying to blow me out. And he said, oh, I don't think you're going to make all these exams. I had to take a lot of exams, more than just the 7. And he goes, you know, I'll bet you, you know, $2,000 you don't pass. And I said, I'll bet you 5. He said, you don't have $5,000. I go, hey, Mr. K, will you cover me? And Mr. K shot down the hallway. Yep, I got you covered. So, you know, I made like 35, 40 grand passing on my exam. So fear or greed, either one can work. SIE from Alabama. All right, so you're going to get Roby that first testing victory. Woohoo! Isaac, you know, if you've missed that thing 3 times by 1 or 2 points, I don't think that's knowledge deficit. I think that's some other variable. I don't know. I go through the laundry list of variables. Did you change answers? Did you get a good night's rest? It's not that you don't know it. Now, that's a little frustrating for both you and people like Brian and I who help folks like yourself, but it's not that you don't know this stuff. There you go, Brian. He has 2 that he likes. That one.
Keep it simple.
Keep it simple. What's the other S? Seattle?
No, yes.
And then the other one that Brian has that what's that other one you have, Brian? Stick with what you know.
We're going to save that one to the end of the.
Okay. But anyways, Isaac, I think you can be second guessing yourself some way, somehow,
exactly right.
Changing answers, or it's lack of confidence on your part, whatever that is. So why don't you make sure you stay plugged in? So the other thing I would say, make sure you stay plugged in on our Tuesday evenings. You know, that can help talking to other successful test takers, but I don't know, 3 times. I also would want you to look at your study efforts those 3 times. I mean, it's obvious you put in the work. So if I would want you to do your own debrief on your study effort and see if there's something missing. If you want, why don't you send me an email? Let me put that up there. And I'm more than happy to kind of look at what you're already doing and see if there's something that can find you some more points. But I don't really think that's the problem. So, you know, but if we can find the problem, that would be wonderful, right? If we can find the problem, then we can fix it. Scored 65 on the Series 7 a month ago, still scoring the 65, 75 range on SDC and Kaplan. Test window opens Saturday. Should I take it or wait? Well, it depends on what you mean by take it sooner or later. I don't know what that time frame is. I would want you to be in the consistently the 70 plus range. And so unless there's a hurry, if that takes you 2 weeks or 3 weeks to consistently be in that 75 range and no more 60s. I would not like us seeing 60s anywhere. Don't get me wrong, Evan. People get 60s and pass all the time, but that's not where we want. I would want you to have more of a margin of safety, so to speak. Your comments, Brian, on that one?
Absolutely. We got to get at least consistently over 70.
Yeah, I don't, but I don't, particularly with that 0-1 kind of miss in the back.
Exactly. We got to increase our chances that second time.
That's right. I missed that they changed the outline. Thank you, guys. Brian knows it's Go Dogs 10-0. Brian, the dogs, the Georgia dogs, or
UW, University of Washington 10-0. UW.
I like it.
I've already got my tickets to the Pac-12 championship here in Vegas. I already got.
Oh, really? Wow.
40-yard. Yep.
All right. Taking the 65 this Saturday, scoring 60s on the Test Geek practice. I don't know why you would say scoring 60s, because you should only be doing that once. I'm not sure if you've done it more than once. 60s. I think Brian is, here's what I would tell you. Hello, world. I had somebody on a Friday in a tutoring session, and I told them that when they showed up, I wanted their score from Brian's Test Geek practice test on the 65. He got a 67. I said, had that been the real test, you would have failed. Now, good news, it's not. And you have to Monday. So are you going to stay dedicated, disciplined, organized? You're going to work over the weekend, or are you going to get wobbly? He said, oh, I'm going to work. And I said, I'm sure we can find a few points between now and Monday. And he passed. But that has a pretty good simulation of where you're at. So, on Kaplan, I say you can add some points. On Brian's, I'll defer to the guy who wrote the test, but I think Brian's has pretty strong correlation to that actual exam. So 60 means 60. There's not a fudge factor in a practice test score from a Brian practice test. Now I'll turn over to Brian and see if he contradicts me on that, but that's what I've been telling people. Brian?
Yeah, when I first started doing this, the boss kept asking me, is Bill going to pass? Is Jaden going to pass? And what am I going to tell him? Let me check my Ouija board or something. So I always wanted to find practice finals that could as closely correlate to the real test score they get. And that's why I've always constructed finals that I hope is within about a 5% range at the most. So we want to see those scores a little higher. We'd like to see them 70 or better. Absolutely.
Yeah. So there you go. For those that you don't know, Brian has been kind enough to allow those on the channel, and you can hit pause and answer yourself, hit play, and then hear me explain it my way. I don't read you Brian's rationale. And when people have a problem with the Brian question, I go reach out to Brian. I'm not here to defend Brian's, questions. Yeah, and he's more than happy to, talk to you about why his answers are what they are. But you can get that as a PDF if you want for $20. Now, I don't know why people misinterpret what I'm saying right now, because people will take us up on that, and then Brian will tell, or they'll tell me or Brian, all I got was a PDF of the practice test. I go, yes, that's what we told you. If you want the videos and all the other stuff, that's like $100. So anyways, but what I like with that practice test when people have it is I like it to use to get that mark that we're talking about. The other thing I have them do, and I think I've mentioned this to you, Brian, is I like you to take that practice test and then turn it into what I call poor man's flashcards. So when Brian has like a recognition question, it's like C, take that dead tree version and just mark out A, B, and D. And then what I like people to do is the night before and the morning of is just read all of Brian's practice questions and the correct answers and that rationale, just to get your flow going. You're not going to learn, you're not going to pass by just doing Brian what I'm saying here, but it does get, I think, help with the flow. Just get your mind thinking, get in the right mind space. So that's the other use I make of Brian's practice test. Hey, Ivy, what's up? What did you say? I have a free, no, I didn't, Rachel, you don't have a free coaching call unless you win tonight. Nicole has a free coaching call. She, I don't want to start a, something that maybe Nicole's not interested. Coaching calls can be shared. And if Nicole wants to share her coaching call with you or anybody else, that's fine with me. But those coaching calls are recorded. Good news, Rachel, that will be recorded. She's taking the same exam. And then what I do is I give the free replay of the coaching call on the channel. So no, you need to win the drawing to get the coaching call. Need help. Okay, well, got to be a little more articulate than that.
Hello, world.
Nicole, I think, is it the same Nicole or different Nicole? We got two Nicoles running around with the chat. I'm taking the Series 7. I'm 6 tests in with SDC, and I'm ranging from 73%. My last 2 tests, I've got 75 and 79. However, I'm getting 66 on Pass Perfect. I think that's not a problem at all. Pass Perfect goes so into the weeds. So I don't see any issue there at all. I think that that's fine. I don't know how, I'm trying to see where you're at in terms of your timeline. I'm not sure, Nicole, how far out you are from your test, but if I were your accountability partner, I would have no problem with this comment, where you're at and those scores. Your thoughts, Brian?
Ditto. This Pass Perfect thing is really starting to get under my skin a little bit. It really is. But so I don't want to go and.
Well, Nicole said we should start a Pass Perfect support group.
Yeah,
I've actually talked to Nicole, senior people at Kaplan. I said, I don't know who the sales team is at Pass Perfect, but they deserve a bonus because they've convinced employers that there's some benefit to tormenting their employees. I think, Nicole, here's what I'm guessing the sales model is. Not only will Nicole pass her test, but she again can have product knowledge and start, bringing in business or conducting business. I totally disagree with that model. I don't know if that's true, but that's the impression I get talking like training directors and people like that. And I totally disagree with that. I think product knowledge comes from sales efforts, not taking tests. The passing the test is passing the test. It's just a barrier to entry. It's a rite of passage. And I think those should be separate things, right? You can start product knowledge after you get through the test. So I think that's some of the logic of Pass Perfect, why they have stuff that you'll never encounter on the actual exam. Now, don't get me wrong. If you're getting good scores on Pass Perfect, I'm not saying they're not a vendor that it puts you at risk because of their content. Their content, if anything, is just too much, in my opinion, and too many, rabbit holes that can put a certain element at risk. But they're STC, Pass Perfect, Kaplan, Knopman, those are all reputable test prep vendors that can get to make your mark. Now, the other thing I'll just comment on, Nicole, and this isn't you, but I just get so tired of people whining and blaming their test prep vendor rather than looking inward on what they need to do to make their mark. So whether you're whining about STC or Pass Perfect or Kaplan, it's just, by the way, I don't know if you're still here, Nick, at 24. It's surprising me, Brian. The 24s are the biggest whiners of all the test takers. I can't figure it out for the life of me. You think they'd be more stoic, less fragile. Test tomorrow on 66, scoring mid-70s to a high of 87. Well, so there you go. So we don't think, again, you have any reason to not, make your mark. I would say that you're not based on that. So just as I say, stick the landing. You just got to stick that landing. So get a good night rest tonight. I don't know about you, but my reading skills are greatly diminished when I'm tired. So make sure you get a good night's rest as much as possible. Try and put that anxiety aside.
Good night, Ethan.
Yeah, good night. Sleep tight and dream of success. Did we do this one already? I thought we did.
He's commented a few times, and he's got the 60s on Test Geek practice final. Any advice?
Well, you got to find some points. So,
yeah.
I would
tell you where you are with your test text book and their practice finals in the performance tracker. Now what we need to do is identify where your weak spots are. That's what those performance trackers do on Kaplan and some of the other.
Yeah, that's what it was. I was going to say the same thing. The unfortunate part about Brian's practice test is I can't talk him into doing a whole QBank. He's just got the practice test. So, we don't know. Yeah, I mean, you could go through that and see if there's commonality, what you're missing on Brian's. But the best way to address this quickly would be the performance tracker. Yeah. So I don't know if you're using Kaplan, but, most of them have a QBank that can kind of lead you to where you need to find some points. I would tell you on 65, 2 big honey holes of target-rich environments, if you will, are disclosures and unethical business practices. So you might be able to review that and see if you can find some points there.
You might want to look at my YouTube channel on the discounted cash flow and time value.
I'll link to that. So that's 2928, and I'll link to my video on discounted cash flow.
Yep.
DCF. Nick, I don't know. in what context you're asking. Is this a Kaplan question? Let me know, because I'm more than happy to look it up this evening, make a little video and send it to you. But selling stock doesn't increase net capital. I'm guessing the context. The context is if I sell stock, I have a long securities difference. I think it's way over the 24 even, but more like 27. If I have a long securities difference or a short securities difference, in both cases, it's bad because it should balance. In other words, I should know what I have in my vault in terms of securities. So if you sell that security, we think you're going to find out later that you didn't actually have a free 1,000 shares of IBM laying around. The analogy I use, Nick, is kind of like a bar and there's a cash drawer. And whether my bartender is over in the drawer or under in the drawer, it's a problem. And if we're 100 over and then we go, out and have cocktails, we're going to find out tomorrow we need that. So it's not going to increase net capital because the idea here is it's going to be somebody else's security. You're going to find out later. I was getting a haircut, increased net capital. So the security was getting a haircut and now it's cash. So there's no haircut now. Well, I don't know the context. I'll look this up after our session tonight, Nick. Let me write this down. But the haircut, we have what's called tentative net capital. And so it doesn't increase the net capital because the haircuts come after you've already figured out what your tentative net capital is. So I don't think you're going to see this on the 24, but
yeah, this sounds like a 27 question.
It sure does. I mean,
the FinUp.
But I'll look it up. It's 143-7120. I'm assuming, Nick, you're using Kaplan because backstage I can see Kaplan questions. I can't, Nick, see other questions. So if this is a past perfect STC question, then you need to cut and paste it and send it to me, and I'm more than happy to help you. I think, Nick, you said you're testing tomorrow. I'd be a little concerned with these types of questions when you're testing tomorrow because these are not on the broad avenues and highways of the Series 24.
Right.
Haven't got my 66 yet using STC, getting very low 70. That's fine. After getting high 60s on the STC finals, any tips? Sorry, somebody already asked that. People want to interest in what scores. Brian and I are a little more lenient, I think, than accountability partners, trading directors, people like that. I know some people want people to get in the 80s or 90s.
Good luck.
Yeah. I think mid 70s is acceptable. Higher the better, but that's that margin of safety, right? So I think high 60s. I have, I'll just give you the story, Sean. If I were teaching on a campus, and let's say we got 20 people in class, true story. And we're going to take a practice test on Friday. The cohort is testing Monday. And I go with the accountability part and I say, listen, we have 12 people who got over 70. I think they're all going to pass Monday. We have 8 people who got below 70. 6 of them got between 60 and 70. I think 3 of the 6 are going to pass. 3 are going to miss the mark. And she goes, which 3? So we can save them. I go, we don't know. It's statistics. If we knew who they are, we would save them. We just don't know who they are. There's no reason that needs to be true. If they continue to work, like I told you earlier, they'll pass. We have 2 people below 60. And it's kind of the conversation, Sean, we had earlier. Below 60, it's just really tough because everything's got to line up right. You got to get a dream draw. You got to continue to work. It's just, and both those people went down. Now, what I was happy is 6 of the 6 people that got between 60 and 70 all passed. So we went 18 for 20 in that class. The 2 people actually came very close and passed the next time. So that's why I want you to be in those mid 70s. I'm not saying if you get below 70, you're not going to pass. I'm just saying I would want you to have a margin of safety. And that's why I think those mid 70 scores are good. Yeah, Brian.
We've had many questions in this kind of genre. I'm getting this, that, and the other thing, and I got to test. What should I do? That kind of thing. Again, say now that you've got your evaluation score, your intellectual, what do you call it? Inventory.
I call it inventory.
Yeah, that's right. And now what you got to do is determine where the weak areas are. That's why the performance tracker is so important. Man, I tell you, I would have given my left pinky to have some of that while I was preparing for my exams, knowing where am I weak, so that with the next week, next 2 weeks before my 66 or next Saturday or whatever, I know where I can work. I know what areas I need help with. Dean has some videos. I have videos. There's a textbook. There's practice questions so that I can work on that weak area.
Yeah, targeted areas.
Tracker is wonderful. Does STC have one?
I was just going to say that. I don't know, Sean, if STC's QBank I know it's not as deep as Kaplan, and I'm not sure if they have that function where we call it Kaplan's the performance tracker. Sean, it's Guru 15 is the discount code, and I don't know, the 7Q bank is I think $60. I don't know what the 66Q bank is. Probably somewhere in that same price range. If you have it, I understand when you're starting out new, maybe you don't have the resources, but if you have the resources, why not?
Exactly.
Buy a Q bank.
You don't have a test date, you might as well get their Q bank.
Yeah, I think so.
Track where your weak areas are.
Well, Nick, don't be worried at all about that. I mean, you got to, I'm more worried about the type of questions. I'm still going to do what I promised to do for you this evening. I'm going to go get that QID number, see what it is. I'm going to make you a little private video, and I'm going to send you to this evening. However, those are not on the broad avenues and highways of your 24 tomorrow. And I think a 75 and an 82 are fine. Even a 71 will get it done. What I don't want you, Nick, is tomorrow as a general securities principal supervisor, babysitter of sevens, overthinking it and using your own brain against yourself.
Right.
So that KISS principle Brian brought up for people taking those other exams, Nick, I think he applies even probably double dose on 24. And just to keep it simple, Seattle, right? Just, read the question. Make sure you understand what the question is best possible, what question is being asked, what the answers being offered to you are. 24 can be a challenge because you could get a 50-50, and then those 50-50s where you toss out two, that could be a little challenging. So just go, okay, here's my two remaining choices. Here's where I'm going. They don't really get into practical application like haircuts or any of that. It's more judgment and aim and shoot stuff. It's not, can you take a haircut? I think the only math, Nick, you're going to see tomorrow on 24 would be debit by 0.75. That's market value at maintenance, 24. That's testable on the 24. And credit by 1.3. And that's market value at maintenance for a short. There's just not a lot of practical application math. I wish there were more, actually. I wish there were more math questions on the 24.
There were 20 years ago.
A long time ago in a far off galaxy, indeed.
75 to 82 on practice finals.
I think Nick's going to make his mark.
Phenomenal scores.
I think you're going to make your mark, Nick. I really believe that. So
here's my $20 on you, Nick. Right here, pal.
There you go. I got 22.
I'm in Vegas. I'll put a bet down right now.
We should run a little pool, right? I think tomorrow you will be crowned a general security for crowned or matriculate. I don't know what the right word is. But tomorrow morning, Evelyn. All right. So listen, some of your test takers, I appreciate you guys joining us. We love you. But, if you're on the East Coast particularly, go to bed.
Good night, Evelyn.
If you're on a Pacific time zone like us, well, then, okay, hang out for a little more. Yeah. No worries, Rachel. No worries, Rachel. I think you sent out some good vibes to the universe, and I think maybe we'll win the drawing tonight. Now, by the way, if she wins, that's a joke. I cannot fix the drawing, so. We've had people think that it's fixed because there's been a couple winners in a row. Saturday, okay, so we got to get that done. Failed last time, 64. Again, I don't think 60 to 70 misses. I think that's why most firms are letting you go again, Evelyn, because most firms know that means you put in the work. And for whatever reason, we don't know what the variable is, but you missed the mark. So, any final advice? Well, again, be the test. Let the test come to you. Don't make it any harder than it has to be.
Find out what areas you were weakest on the last test. Run the performance tracker on your simulated exam. Find out where your weak areas are. That's what you should be concentrating on that last week or two before the test.
Yeah, that's what you should be fine-tuning, right? That process, Brian and I both are committed. So some of your timelines are different. But Brian and I both think 7 to 10 days is when that process should begin, because you don't want to get too close and then you don't have time to do what we're talking about. So, you don't want to find out. People put off taking like practice tests. We're not saying, listen, we're not saying take a practice test every day. I had a guy say, I took 4 of them today. I go, that's a waste. I mean, there's no way that the 4 score meant anything and you can't remediate. That's just stupid. But what we do want to do is get marks that point us to where we're at presently and where we need to go, and where are those, as I said, honey holes or target-rich environments where we can find the points necessary to bring those scores consistently where we need to be. I call it the 747 principle. It takes a 747, 120% of rated power to get off the ground. Nope, backseat, back. once it's up there, it just takes 80% to hover, and that's where you're going to get to. You want to be in that 70 range where you know, as I say, then you just got to stick the landing. And if you're not in that 70 range, you're still seat back, nose up, and you know, you got to get to where you need to get. So how best to prepare for Series 7 a week away? Well, we just talked about that.
Evaluate, remediate.
A week away, 7 to 10 days, you should be doing a practice test and remediation. Remediation is that entire process of finding out where you need to bring things above par. So, I would mind delta and gamma, because there is no such thing on the test as delta and gamma. You will not see delta, percentage change, or gamma on either the 65 or 66. You will see alpha, you will see beta, you will see Sharpe ratio, you'll see duration, but you won't see any of that. Well, I don't know what test prep vendor you're taking, Nicole, but I can assure you there are no questions on delta and gamma on Series 66. You disagree with me?
Yeah, where did that come from?
I've
never heard of that on 66.
Gas perfect, I think, maybe.
Any idea on what to expect on testing options on the 66? Nothing you haven't seen 86 times on the series.
That's true. That is definitely true. So, I'll let Brian do the standard deviation thing. He's a serious math guy, and he does a great job explaining things to laymen.
Now, you said that, and I appreciate that. Thank you, sir. But didn't you? We were talking about this on the podcast yesterday, did we not?
We were.
And you made an analogy.
You like it? I'll do it.
Yeah, please, because I really liked it.
All right. So, Trish, I was talking to Brian yesterday on the podcast. I don't know if we had the record button. I think we did. And I said, I think of a standard deviation as variance, you know, this idea of the dispersion of things. And so as an NBA fan, I told Brian, you know, you got two guys who both score 20 and 10, 20 points and 10 rebounds, both of them. But one of those guys gets, one night gets 40 points and 20 rebounds, and the next night gets nothing. Right. And then the other guy gets 20 points and 10 rebounds consistently. So, you know, the guy who's getting 40 and 20 and then nothing has a higher standard deviation. Now, what I told Brian about this in terms of variance and volatility as it relates to players, as I've been a Warrior fan before the Warriors were any good. And when the Warriors were any good, we still had a superstar, and his name was Baron Davis. And people would say to me, you think you're going to win tonight? I said, well, it depends on what Baron Davis shows up. If Baron Davis superstar shows up, we can take down anybody. If he shows up and gives us 40 and 20, woo! But he was at the club until 2 a.m. and, you know, he's not quite ready to play basketball, could be a problem. So that's what I think of it as. I think of this idea of the variance. You know, I had a big money manager. I didn't tell you this story, Brian, but he was like number 1 for like 3-4 years in a row in his category. And I said, you don't really think you're going to be able to do that another 4 years, do you? And he was really upset with me. He goes, well, what do you mean? I said, well, you know, it's kind of, again, like a batting average. I mean, you know, there's a regression to a mean here. I just don't think that's possible that you could do that just statistically, right? So I see you got the board on there, Brian. I'm going to put you up on your board.
No, well, I was just showing your basketball analogy,
okay.
Points and the variance. And what I was just about to say, because this kind of proves it, what you just said, standard deviation is used primarily by portfolio managers to determine how much volatility is in a portfolio. We want the greatest amount of return with the least amount of volatility. And standard deviation is the measurement for how much a portfolio will vary, how volatile it can be.
And Trish, watch the episode, because I think, Brian, you also talked about that in last night's episode. I think we talked about the idea of volatility, and I think the word you used is external and internal.
That's right.
It doesn't include external factors when talking about standard deviation of the security, right?
Right.
I think it's mostly a definitional question, Trish.
I really do too. I have a question on my practice final where it gives you a chart of all these different portfolios.
It's question number 1.
That's exactly right.
Question number 1 on both.
Which one is most volatile? And it's the one that has the highest standard deviation.
Yeah, and he's got like a true person who writes the real test, Trish. He's as big a jerk as the person who wrote the test, because he's got all kinds of information not necessary to answer that. So it's a nice little exhibit that Brian has there. Check that out. That's in the Test Geek Series 6 practice file. You can find that in the 66 playlist of practice tests. I'll link to that for you as well. And I'll link to the episode that we discussed this in. And boom, 40.
And one last thing, if I use these numbers, right, they both average 20 and 10, but this guy can vary up to 17 points on his night, where this guy averages no more than 3 points. That's standard deviation. That's far more volatile than this guy. That's what standard deviation is.
Love it. Love it. Nick, I'll look up that question after the live stream tonight and see what you're looking at. I just got to remember where I wrote it down now. Could you do me a favor? Can you put that back into the chat, that QID, Nick? I wrote it down here, but I got so many QIDs people are asking help with. I think I might have mixed it up. So just put that back in there if you would. Hi, Dean and Brian, 65 on 1218. Regulation SP and questions on the exam. So regulation SP, you think that have you had anybody seen that on 65?
No.
Mainly, you think that does show up. You have an obligation to maintain customer privacy. And if you're going to cross solicit, you need their permission and you need to make it easy for them to opt out. And you, Tony, have to have a section on this in what's called your WSP, is your written supervisory procedures. So pretty straightforward. I can't imagine that's going to be a big deal on your.
Last time I saw it was Series 6.
Yeah. I don't think that's a big deal.
Yeah.
STC has it as well. Well,
they do have it. Okay. There you go. Thank you.
66 from Florida. Oh, your Georgia dogs are coming around, it sounds like. 7 tomorrow. Can we go over slobs and bliss and convertible bonds? Like Carrie Ann, we certainly we can do a brief version of that here. I'll do my little brief version. So slobs and bliss is a memory aid device to remind us where we place orders in relationship to the current market price. So SLOB stands for sell limits and buy stops. The O is just to make the memory aid device. So a sell limit where you want your price or higher is above the market. And a buy stop is above the market. Bliss stands for buy limits where you want to buy to your price or less, or sell stops are below the market. You know, the only order that has no contingency, no qualifier is a market order. Right. So now I would know tomorrow on your Series 7 that stop orders, the number one use, there are 3 uses of stop orders. Those 3 uses are to stop losses, protect profits, establish stock positions. So that's why you would be using a stop order. Stop losses, that's the primary thing people use them for. Protect profits, establish stock positions. So you might get an accept question. Stops can be used for all the following. You're saying stop the bleeding. You know, part of successful investing is letting flowers bloom, but more importantly, pulling the weeds. And a stop order is an automatic weed puller. Say, I'm out of here. Now, when we pull that trigger, do you want us to make it a market order or a limit order? And so that's where those orders are about. Do you want to add anything to that, Brian, in terms of just for tomorrow? I mean, she's going tomorrow. So.
I know, for tomorrow. One thing, when the question's asking you as a registered rep, which of the following orders would you place?
Yeah.
There's kind of a quick 3-step process. Does the customer currently own the stock? If they do, they're most likely looking to sell. What is their market attitude? Well, they think it's going to go down. What is the only sell order below the market? Boom, done. Sell order.
Like it.
What if a guy's looking at a stock and he wants to buy it if it goes past a certain limit?
Above its resistance level.
Exactly. That means he wants to buy if the market's going up. So what's the only buy order above the market?
Excellent.
That's how I use these 3.
Love it. Love it. Carrie Ann, for others, I will link. I have several videos on types of orders. I don't think it's worth tonight. I think a good night's sleep is more important than that. But for others who have more time, I will link to a video that has types of orders. Convertible bonds. You are going to see tomorrow a convertible bond question. Brian has his way of doing it. I think we do it a little differently, but that's okay. The point is you need to know tomorrow when given the conversion price, you need to know the ratio. You need to know how many shares you can get. And I would imagine you're going to get asked to calculate parity. That's a pretty standard thing. So either parity of the common or parity of the stock. And the way we do parity, and I say this all the time, is almost all the math on the Series 7 is division. So if you can't decide what to do, divide. And if you can't decide what to divide, Take the first number divided by the second number. So if they give you the current market price of the convertible tomorrow, and you have the conversion ratio, you would divide, and that would give you parity. If they ask you parity, the common parity just means equal. That's what that word means, equal. If they ask you parity of the bond, then you take the current market price of the stock and times it. I think that is definitely something you're going to encounter tomorrow. Brian, your thoughts on convertibles for tomorrow? You don't want to share too late to share your, okay.
I wish he came to me 2 days ago.
Well, I'm with you. So, Carrie Ann, that's why Tuesdays. We wish you were on the previous Tuesday. But
I don't want to give her two methods. Let's just get one.
I got it. I understand, Brian. Taking the 7 tomorrow, high 70s, low 80s with Pathwork, you should be fine. Should be fine.
Wow.
Yeah, you should be. I don't think you're risk. Let's go. I don't think you're risk.
There's another 20.
There you go. Well, I don't know why it's there, Nicole. Nobody has ever told me they've seen Delta or Gamma on any of the NASA exams.
Nope.
Zero. Brian and I, if you combine our years and test takers together, I think we probably have, this is embarrassing. What do you think we got? 6 decades of
combined? Absolutely. Yeah.
And then what do you think? I'm thinking tens of thousands of test takers. I mean, so Nicole, I don't know what to say.
Since 1995. I hate to say that. That makes me feel old. But.
yeah. And dog years were 200.
Well, here's another $20 for you. You ain't seen Delta and Gamma.
Yeah, you're not seeing anything on that. I would be interested if somebody calls them and ask them to go over it, if they would even go over it. There you go. Well, Carrie Ann, I am worried that this is the night before your exam and you are asking questions that don't lend themselves to this. I'm going to tell you quickly what you're going to be asked tomorrow about a straddle. 4 things on a straddle. Can you identify a straddle? Can you calculate the break-evens? Can you determine where it's profitable? When do you use it? Now, we have a memory aid device for straddles, and it's SILO. That stands for short inside, long outside. If we have a straddle, it's the only one tomorrow, Carrie Ann, where you're going to have 2 break-evens. You're going to have an upside break-even and a downside break-even. And if you're short that straddle, you want it in between those 2 numbers. You're selling the volatility. And if you're long the straddle, you want it outside of that. Maybe one question tomorrow. If you tell us you missed because of straddles, I'm going to say, all these things add up. Thanks, Nick. Series 24. I got to start with a fresh piece of notepaper when we start these live streams. So I'm going to show you Brian's chalkboard there. So first identification, it's when you're long 2 different type of contracts or short 2 different type contracts. So you should be able to tell us tomorrow that's a straddle that you're looking at. Test question number 2. Can you calculate the break-evens? The way you do that is you total the premiums. So you're out 4. So you need 4 up or 4 down to cover your out-of-pocket costs, 54 and 46. Third test question. Where do you want the market price to be in relationship to that? It's a long straddle, so you want the market above 54 or below 46. And the last test question is, what are you doing here? You're buying volatility. You're expecting volatility, but direction's uncertain. Carrie Ann, I bought a straddle on a company that hired a new CEO, Carrie Ann, and I thought he's either going to fix their problems or he's not. So I bought a call and I bought a put. I don't care what happens, just as long as it moves. He fixed the problems. My put expired. My call came through. Carrie Ann, I bought a straddle on a company that was going into court. And I thought they're either going to win the court case, in which case I thought the stock was going to go up, or they're going to lose the court case, in which I thought the stock was going to go down. So I bought a straddle, right? So one other thing, short straddles have unlimited risk, right? Because if it goes outside, you got a naked call there. So
bring us back, Dean. Bring us back.
Sorry, Brian.
That's okay.
Okay, well, looks like pretty good there. It looks like anybody got anything else here for us? Are we ready for, let me get going here. Boom, let me.
Positive vibes for Carrie Ann tomorrow.
Absolutely. Okay, so what is going to be this? If you're new with us, thank you for joining us this evening. The way the drawing works is we put a word in the chat to be determined. I'll tell you what, let's make it straddle. We'll make it a straddle.
There you go.
Straddle is the word to put into the box if you were going to participate in our drawing. Let me go get this for us. And then we will do our drawing. Let me go get the share screen. Boom. Where is my...
I've done a lot of teaching today, Dean.
Are you tired? Ready to go tonight, huh?
Yeah.
Well, let's see what happened here. Hold on. Cancel. There we go. I had to go find the damn thing. Okay, so let me get rid of that. Let me get my email. Remember, I got to claim your... I'm hoping... Who was it that we were talking to? Was it Rachel? But that's not it. Hold on. There's that. Let me go get the screen again. And there we go. All right. Can you see this Straddle? Only 4 entries? Oh my goodness, embarrassing. It's got to be exactly how it is on the screen. So Straddle, it doesn't help if you put in more. It only is going to pick up the first thing. Oh, $2. Well, thank you, Logan. Anybody else? Going once? Going twice? Oh, Nor came in at the last minute there. Okay, last call. I want Rachel. Come on, Rachel. Let's go, Rachel. Oh, Carrie Ann. No, man.
Well, she's taking her test tomorrow. So,
well, Carrie Ann, I think what I would tell you is that, listen, I usually make you claim it in the week, but you're taking your test tomorrow. I would imagine the next leg of your testing journey is going to be either 63 or 66. Only reason I don't want to do it tonight is I have a Hippocratic oath. First, do no harm. And I'm afraid that we could do more harm than good. And, talking you 30 minutes tonight on these issues you had. So that's why I'm not going to give you the coaching call this evening, because I think we could just go, it could be good or bad. We don't want to be in that situation. We want you to get a good night's rest. We want you to make your mark on the 7 tomorrow. And then I will, on the coaching call, honor that for your next leg of your testing journey, whatever that may be. Okay. Anything else for tonight? Well, remember, inch by inch, your exam is a cinch. Yard by yard, your exam is hard. And Brian?
Keep it simple. Stay with what you know. You take the test. Don't let the test take you.
All right, everybody. We'll see you next Tuesday, 5 p.m. Las Vegas time. Bye-bye.